Today we're going to have a little panel around what it's like to have automation in your contact center and really what that means for your agents, right? How do we reimagine our agents of the future? So I have a great group of panelists up here. Zach gave a nice intro to them, but I'm going to go ahead and have them actually introduce themselves, tell you just very briefly about the company they're with and what their contact center looks like so you can kind of identify with them. And we'll start off here with Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Monks. I'm the manager of contact center operations for Love's Travel Stops, and we're located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We have basically two contact centers. Both centers are we all work on location. We have one in Oklahoma City, and then we have a partner site in San Domingo, we support emergency roadside service for professional truck drivers, along with supporting our rewards program, and then also supporting just general customer service. Those are our main call types. We have some other things that we support, but that's basically it. And we been working with Replicant for a little over 2 years. And I have to say that this morning was just very energizing, and I was very excited to be able to come up here and participate in this way, and I appreciate the opportunity provided to do that. So that's me. That's Love's.
Hi, I'm Corey Simpson. I work for ECSI. It's a part of Global Payments. And a little bit about me, I originally grew up in St. Louis. I now live in Northwest Arkansas. In between there, I lived in Pittsburgh. That's where I started my journey with ECSI as a call center representative, believe it or not. So started there, became a chat representative, and during, of course, COVID, we haven't said that enough today, but right after that, my former manager, Mike Bowman, he reached out to me and said, hey, we're trying this, we want to start this new thing, there's AI, there's chatbots, and we want to get into the field, but we need to build something. So that became me. I was the guy that really, from the beginning, designed kind of our conversational design, and just from scratch, really trying to build it to what it is today. Helped implement that, and today, as a management informational analyst, I review a lot of data that we receive through the chatbots and through the thinking machine, especially with Replicant, and really try to find other ways that we can help contain calls and resolve those contacts today with thinking machine rather than transferring to an agent. So that's a little bit about me.
My name is Angie, and I work for CAA-CCG, which most of you probably figured out is the equivalent of AAA up here. Our contact center consists of 4 different lines of business: our support team, our sales team, roadside, and dispatch. I am the supervisor for roadside and the prime for Replicant. I have been with the company just over 7 years, supervisor for 6. Our company takes care of South Central Ontario, so the GTA, Toronto area, and then all of Manitoba. Roadside is probably weather impacted the most for me in Manitoba because our winters can be very cold at -40. So we do need Replicant to come in and jump in and take some of our calls for our agents and help us out a little bit. And yeah, I've been the prime since, building the bots between credit card renewals, membership renewals, and then our 4 bots we have.
Thank you, everyone. And so just to start us off, before we get into the agent of the future, we have to probably first talk about the current environment and how it's changed over the past few years. So how has, for each of you, customer expectations changed? And then how has that led to sort of impacts on the roles for your agents?
An interesting question. Our customers really just expect consistency. And, without mentioning the C word, I think as we went through that, we saw a lot of ebbs and flows as far as occupancy, accessibility, those types of things. And as we came out of that, we really needed to look for solutions that provided a consistent experience for our customers. And Replicant has helped us do that by, particularly with emergency roadside, by gathering information up front that can be then shared with the agent. And it not only helps the customer because they're giving that information in a certain sequence, it helps our agent as well, because I think one of the biggest pain points our agents had was trying to keep our customers on that workflow. And it not only did it help the agent experience, it also helped with agent metrics in that it reduced the number of errors and misstatements that, or misunderstandings between the customer and the agent. I think as that, the expectations from our agents is, for them to know that and know that the bot is there to assist them and guide them and keep them and the customer on the same page.
Yeah, as far as customer expectations, I think the biggest one is 24/7 availability. It kind of goes hand in hand with self-service. I think for us, a big part of what we do is we need to be available when our customers need it the most. And we help service student loans, but we also help service tax 1098-T forms for students. And as you can imagine, on April 15th at 10 p.m. at night, when you're trying to fill out your tax forms, we need to be able to assist that student even if our call center isn't open. So really having the thinking machine in our back pocket and really utilizing it, be able to resolve a lot of those easier questions and being available, I think is something that customers demand today. And with that as well, as far as impacts the roles of our agent, I think they really need to, they're working with the bots a lot of times. I'll talk a little bit more, but we have like pop-up panels and how that relates to being able to interact and really creating a seamless transition. So I think that's a big part of how that impacts them as well.
I think between technology and the C word again, kind of now live in a world of on-demand, and our members want what they want when they want it. And they don't want to wait. They want it seamless. They want it fast. And when they have to wait in a queue for 20 minutes to cancel a service call request or to get an ETA, by the time they get to the agent, they're already yelling at them. Hire more people. What's taking you guys so long? So I think for us, adding the cancel queue and the ETA queue just kind of made one less wait for the member. They can call up and get the ETA right away. They could cancel the call right away. And the agents didn't have to, I'm sorry about the wait. We're understaffed. Trucks coming. So it just kind of made one less call for the agent to have to handle. Now they can take care of those people that are stuck, on the highway, broken down in a snowstorm, or the poor little baby that's stuck locked in the car. It just kind of made things a little more seamless for our agents.
So it sounds like there's a really consistent theme here around on-demand, seamless, consistent experience, right? I think, just briefly, not necessarily a set question, but what do you think other than COVID has sort of led to that, right? Is it the other experiences out there that they're getting? Is it just the access to technology? What's some of the drive around that? Hey, people expect things to always.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both of those things. So when I listen to how they're leveraging this technology and how we're leveraging it, one, I see potential for us at Love's, and then also see what we've done. So there are things that, for instance, the replicant resolves 100% of our balance inquiry calls for rewards programs, where that used to be a 5-10 minute hold for a customer for a 2-minute resolution. So it's saved us money, and I think it's saved our agents frustration and having to kind of answer that mundane question over and over again. And it as a consumer myself, it's more consistent with some of those services that I use, in that when I call a company, those easy questions can be answered without me having to wait for an agent.
Yeah, As far as, I think it was Josh mentioned it earlier today, just the idea of it's not only customers comparing you to who else is in your line of business, right? It's you're comparing them to anybody you reach out to as far as customer experience. So for example, if you contact Amazon or Discover or any of these major companies and you're looking for customer service, you expect that from everybody now. And I think that's the biggest drive of that for sure.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in technology driving this. I know even yesterday for myself, when I checked in, I couldn't get the app for the hotel to work. And I was so frustrated. And the lady at the counter was like, you know what, I'm sorry, let me just check into that. And it was something that I could have done. And she ended up turning my experience around completely. But had it worked, it would have been, great. It would have been fantastic. So I definitely think that technology and the way things are moving and the way things, like I said, people want things when they want it and they don't want to wait. And it's now. It has to happen now. So when our technology fails, people are angry.
See if this works now. Yes. So, coming back to your agents, right? How have you been able to, and how are you still fostering the idea of continuous improvement and embracing new technologies, especially into a world where maybe the agents haven't seen as much innovation?
Well, it's a two-way street. We have to engage our agents and make sure they understand why we're doing what we're doing with technology, and then explain the what's in it for them, as far as what that means for them. So, and I kind of alluded to that earlier. I mean, it means better metrics for the agent. It means they're able to work on calls that are more challenging, and leverage their skills and what they've learned, and so I think that's the first step. And the second thing is we found very valuable is allowing our agents to listen to Replicant, listen to the bot. I was on a site visit with our partner site in Santo Domingo, and they had never heard Replicant, and so playing them different scenarios of how the customers interact with Replicant was real eye-opening to them, and it gave them an appreciation for the work that is being done prior to Replicant handing it off. And from a company perspective or operationally, from roadside, last year we were averaging about 7.5 minutes average handle time, and now we're under 6 minutes. So we've seen a 33% drop in our average handle time just because of what Replicant is getting from the customer and handing off to the agent.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I think a big part of it is letting the representatives know how the thinking machine works and what it's doing. That's just a major part of it. You don't need to hide it from them. We do many demonstrations and presentations to our agents and the rest of the company, so they're kind of well aware of what we're doing. And it's really there to take the softball questions, right? It's there to help with the repetitive questions of, I need help logging into my account, I need help logging into my account, and so on and so forth over and over. So it's there to help, they're still going to have those challenging questions to answer, and that's really what it's for. One thing the team that I work with, Corey and Dan, we've started is really taking some time every month or two and getting a small group of the agents and representatives together and really just giving them a chance to ask us questions, for us to listen to them. I think one of the biggest things as far as helping agents continue to improve is you need to listen to them to understand what's going on. So we really try to listen to them, hear their frustrations, and there's been several things that we have taken recently from those frustrations and been able to take back and find solutions that we've been able to personally build into our thinking machine. So now some of those questions are resolved, and then others where we can pass the representative information information agents those tools that they need to be more successful. So I definitely think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm like the other two. I've been living with Replicant for the last 2 years now, and I watched that thing like a hawk. And when we first launched in November of 2021, I had agents message me, Angie, this is where the robot uprising begins. We're all going to be out of a job. And you know, I started taking little groups of agents in and saying, you know, this is how it works. And I would take them, not even the calls that completed right start to finish, but I would take them through the calls where, you know, the member was swearing or got really frustrated or got themselves in a loop. And I said, your job will always be, you will always need to have agents. This is just to make it a little bit easier for you, to take away the low priority calls, to take away the simple things. So now every time there's a new hire class, you know, one of the first things I do is take the new hire class through and say, this is our, you know, our AI, this is our bot, our thinking machine, and this is how it works, and it's not here to take your job, even though some days I'd like it to take my job, but it's just continuously showing them, you know, the different things that we're doing, the different, you know, intents that we've added or whatever.
So it sounds like there's again a consistent theme around transparency, right? Bringing them along for the ride, and providing that assurance that, hey, this is not going to, you know, to hit the or take the bull by the horns, kind of, and say like, hey, this is not going to take your job. We're going to address your problem right up front, which is really interesting to hear. And so it will this leads us into this final question here that I'll have for you guys, which is, as you hire your next class of agents, right? As you look to get the new people in, what are some of the attributes you're looking for in the agent of the future that maybe weren't as important when you were hiring, say, 5 years ago or even 2 years ago?
I wouldn't say we weren't looking for these attributes before, but it's definitely more of a focus. Is we're looking for people that can be interactional rather than transactional, in that they want to make a human connection, have a servant's heart, want to get to the root of the problem and help resolve issues. One of the things that our customers just want, much like any other customer, they just want to know that they've been heard, and that somebody cares about what they do or what they're experiencing. The other is someone who's willing to adapt to change and be willing to let go of some of the controls and allow technology to do parts of the job that are more tedious or not that requires as much human interaction. So really focusing on those two things, and then people are looking for agents that, and again, this kind of goes back to what we learned from 2020 to 2022 is really looking for people who want to make a difference. I think one of our biggest challenges, and this has been, I think, talked about earlier, is how do we make the agents feel fulfilled in what they do? How can we make them feel valued and feel inclusive? And that just goes back to that two-way communication and making sure that they're a part of the conversation, that their feedback matters. You never know where that next great idea is going to come from, and there's no reason to not listen to the largest audience in our contact center. So those are the things that I think we focus on more now than we did before.
Yeah, I would say adaptability. I think being able to, you're looking for somebody that can adapt, and maybe today in a contact center, a representative's answering phone calls 8 hours a day, right? Maybe down the line they are doing calls for a certain period of time, and they're handling chats a certain period of time, and they're doing paperwork. So being able to really adapt and want to take on kind of new tasks so they don't have the same mundane thing all the time. Going back to, we're not really trying to replace them, right? We're just trying to free some time so we can have them do other tasks, because as we all know as companies, there's never a shortage of tasks that need to be completed. So I think that's definitely a big one, as well as just collaborating with AI. I think embracing technology and understanding that, you know, these tools are here to help you. I think that image earlier with the bot next to the human, right, working side by side, I think that's a big one that you want to look for.
Keeping the last one, they always have me answers. But yeah, I think flexibility and adaptability is what we need to focus on. You know, in a year's time, we could be taking, you know, video Skype calls from our members on the side of the road. We don't know. The sky's the limit. So our agents have to be able to be flexible, to be able to learn something quickly, maybe on the fly. You know, just try new things and not be afraid. And I think that's probably what some of our agents are now missing because they're a little bit older and they're just growing up with technology. I think our younger generation is going to fly through this, and it's going to be wonderful.
I mean, that's especially as we look at the younger generation. I think there's an interesting point there, and maybe I'll start, Corey, with you on this question, because there's some other avenues that have opened up, right? We've heard a little bit today about, hey, agents can actually go, you know, grow up through the contact center, and that's what used to happen, happens less now. But now there's some other avenues into how do you work with automation, how do you lead different projects. Tell us a little bit about how you guys see that in your organization, and maybe even how you maybe helps you hire more agents, right? How do you pitch that to the market, saying, hey, there's really an upward path here?
Yeah, I think growth is an important word. I remember when I was first interviewed, you always ask a question before you start, and the first one I asked was, what do you expect of me in the first 6 months, and what do you expect of me in a year? And I remember the first 6 months was learn what you need to learn, and after that, come up with new ideas. And as a call center representative, and I know this happens in different companies, that sometimes you're not always heard. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. But I think it gives, my story is now what my team does and that we work on is we really try to listen to the agents' representatives because we were once in their shoes, and really that feedback we get, if we find a solution for them, it's just as important to let them know, hey, guess what, guys? We found a solution. We're working on it. This is where we're at. This is how long it's going to take. Or we appreciate your idea. Maybe it didn't work out. Here's why. Or maybe this is an idea 9 months from now we could definitely utilize and put into place. So I think anytime you're listening and you let them know, like, we appreciate your feedback, and look, we actually executed what you needed. For our pop-up panels that we have, the thinking machine actually relays over information about that call before representatives. So when they pull that up, they can see the account number, they can see the name, so they can greet them by name. And there's a couple things we were missing. And one of the representatives we had said, hey, it'd be great if we had this. And we were like, oh, that's a really great idea. And it just saves them time. And I think it makes them feel like they're included in what we're doing. And I think that's a big part if you can do that.
We hear a lot when we're hiring and training about what is the growth opportunity and where can I go from here. And we know being in a call center, especially nowadays, you don't really progress like you mentioned. The one good thing about our call center is that we do have 4 different lines of business. So if somebody excels in their job and they want to try something new, we do have the ability to move them along and help them learn and acquire more skills. So I think just keeping things open and flexible with your agents as well, just to be able to say, hey, you may not be able to go far in this line of business, but have you ever tried support or have you ever tried dispatch? So it just gives them new tools in their toolbox.
Yeah, I would say the same things. There's something I tell every new hire class that when I go introduce myself, and it's essentially, look, I don't care if this is the last job you ever have, but I do care I do care that this is the last place you ever work. So we really want people to, not when they start with us, we want them to stay with us. And whether that's in the contact center or another department or somewhere else within the business, it doesn't really matter. Now, having said that, there is an investment there we would like to see a return on, and so we look for we have several opportunities within the contact center for our agents to explore, and I think that's really helped us as we came as we returned back to the building. Is I think two things. One is when we left, it was really quick. And someone had alluded to March 13th being their day. Well, for the date in Oklahoma City, it was March 11th. The Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Utah Jazz, and one of the Jazz players being tested positive for COVID. That was a wake-up call. And I was actually at Disney World. I shut Disney World down. You're welcome. And my boss was calling me, hey, what do you think we should do? I don't think we should close down. I don't think we should. And then that game happened. He's like, maybe I think we should. I think maybe we should send people home. And so by the end of the week, by the time I got back, we had made that decision to send everybody back home. And then I think when we did that, we saw at first, I think it was just, it was adrenaline. Everybody was very productive. Everybody was engaged. Everybody was reaching out. And then we just kind of hit a lull. What we realized is that we're just better together. And that was a decision we made as Loves, right? That has nothing to do, or that's not a judgment or anything on what anyone else's decisions they've made. But that was the decision we made, and it was what we committed to. And when we brought everybody back, there were rough patches again, right? I think some people really enjoyed working from home. Some people changed their lives around that, and so we really had to focus on our culture and really focus on, again, technology to help us through the shortages and the overages when it came to staffing and call volume, because for a while there, those two did not match. We either had too much staff and not enough calls, or vice versa. So Replicant really helped us, I think, smooth out some of those rough patches. So I think it's really just about providing opportunity, making sure that the agents know that, one, I think it was up here, I can't remember which slide it was, but AI isn't going to place humans. Humans with AI are going to place humans without AI. And I think that's something that, as you bring up, I think that's something we need to leverage more in kind of marketing to recruits of, hey, we've got all this technology that's going to do all of this for you, and all you have to do is focus on this. And then as we look to the future about incorporating the bot into our knowledge base to help them be even faster and smarter in providing answers. So the future is very exciting, and it's just a matter of us making sure our agents know what's coming and what it means to them.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We have about 5 minutes left here for some audience Q&A. Anybody has some questions about agents, managing them, or our panelists? Oh.
Maybe this is a question for both Replicant and the three of you. Curious about, so you talked a lot about new hires and onboarding, but I'm curious about your tenured reps and the types of capability building that you might be doing to help them adapt. And where I'm really going is around the theme of empathy. What makes a human still the most human is probably that connection. And the question for both is, what is your stance on developing empathy in humans? And then on the voice-to-voice side, what can we expect for bots to become more empathetic?
I think what we've done at Loves is we've moved away from, we talked about quality and listening to calls and things like that. We've moved away from the diagnostics and evaluating, did you do A, B, and C right? And we focus more on the engagement, the soft skills, the empathy, the reassurance. So that's one way that we reinforce what we expect from our agents versus what we expect from technology. the technology's, it's going to get all the facts. What we need is for our agents to quickly assess that information and then respond accordingly. And then the only way we get our agents to act with empathy and reassurance with our customers is if we treat them with empathy and reassurance. So it's really developing that team mentality and developing a culture to where people feel trusted and people feel like they have not only a place that's safe, but that a place that they can grow. And that's what we focus on.
As far as empathy with representatives, I think Chris, you said it best with if you treat them with empathy, letting them know how to not only, you don't need to worry about necessarily the metrics, it's more about that's important, but first things first, you need to have a genuine conversation and provide them a good experience. I think that's the biggest thing that I would say.
Yeah, for us, I mean, our agents now just handle the priority calls, so those that are in dangerous situations. I think the empathy just naturally comes out. They're genuinely worried about members and children and everything like that. So I think it's just something natural for our agents. I have one of the most boisterous agents on my team, and once she started listening to Replicant, she's like, I think you need to be a little bit nicer. So I was like, yeah, thanks. So I think it's just a natural thing for them.
Yeah, I think, for us at Replicant, right, tenured reps are probably some of our favorite people because they make the thinking machine better. They're the people we go to when we, need help with scripting. How should we talk to people? What does this mean when somebody says this? So their knowledge is absolutely invaluable. And then they absolutely get elevated, whether it's into handling the more complex emotional calls, right? On the voice-to-voice side, we want to, stick a little bit more transactional. We're not ever trying to fake empathy. As nice as it sounds, the bot can't ever really be sorry for how you're feeling right now. And we want to make sure the humans get those calls. But they're also a huge there's a real avenue for those tenured reps, right? Whether it's going to, like Corey has, into actually being the manager of all of these implementations, or it's moving up in the role. So, I think for Replicant, it's really about that transparency and working with those people because they're going to provide actually the most value to building a good machine or a good automation.
For those who can't hear me, Bill Hackett, I'm with the General. Curious how you're improving intent recognition and how you're enabling customers to really speak or convey what they're actually needing. How are you improving that? Do you have any examples specifically?
I know for us, a big thorn in my side for quite some time was our won't start. So a member would call in and say, my car won't start. And it would automatically want to send a battery truck. And sometimes our members don't want a battery truck. They know that it's going to be a tow. And it would go back and forth. Are you sure you don't want a battery? I don't want a battery, I want a tow. And it would go back and forth, back and forth. So we added another turn. So instead of saying, would you like battery service, we ask if it's battery related. And then when the member says no, okay, would you like a tow? So we kind of just added another turn to make it a little more seamless for them. It took a long time for me to figure out what was going to happen and how we were going to do this. I couldn't wrap my head around still being able to send a late service truck had we needed or a tow. But you just kind of, what would the agent say? And that's where you go back to your tenured agents and say, okay, why isn't this working? What would you say if the member said, no, I don't want a battery truck? So we just went with that turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of, I guess, legwork, right? I mean, figuring out, failing forward, if you will, in figuring out what intents work. What did we miss? What intonation did we miss? What even at the very beginning, it was numbers being transposed as words like to. We had to just work through those things. I don't know if there was any magic thing that we did or anything like that. It was just, one, dedicating resources to listening to the calls and listening to see where things were kind of falling off, and then like what was said before is adding a turn, reconfirming, asking those confirming questions to make sure that we heard what they said correctly.
Yeah, it's a lot of legwork. We've been with Replicant now for 2.5 years, so we've done a good job at handling a lot of those. But a big part of it is flagging in the thinking machine. You can actually flag different sentences, whether it's called an unsupported flow, basically, where okay, this flow isn't really created yet, or the thinking machine does not know how to answer this question. What are we going to have it do? Maybe temporarily, you have to escalate that, and then your job is to really think about like, okay, well, what can we do to contain that, right? As far as adding additional intents, it's really just coming up with different sentence structures that are with that, really listening to calls and going through a lot of legwork. Kind of like you mentioned, different turns. There's sometimes there's more to be said. So one example for us was looking up your 1098T form. We had to add several different turns throughout that process because there were several different follow-up questions. Just so it can recognize that when we had similar questions.
And I would just add, we would not be successful as we are without a Replicant support. So the fact that this partnership, and it indeed is a partnership, they're always available. Our customer success manager is just great at hearing us, understanding us, knowing our business, and as one person said, finishing our sentences, and quick to get those things either corrected or added or fixed. So I didn't want to leave them out.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll add there, which you guys have sort of touched on, is it's actually interviewing agents. Really understanding, hey, this call, ended up getting escalated and kicked out to you. What were they really asking, right? Because they tried to ask us in a few different ways, and we just didn't get it, us being Replicant. And so that legwork is really spending time with the agents, the tenured agents, and saying, okay, when calls get kicked out, what do people really want? And can and should we answer it? I think we're right on time here. So thank you, everyone. Oh, wait, one final question.
So how does the platform level in terms of complexity of the calls vis-a-vis the cohort or the tenure of the skills of the agents who are currently taking these calls?
Are you talking about does Replicant represent the skill levels of the agents?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that one. So Replicant is not the one who's managing the agent skills, okay. But we would work with the CCAS provider, whoever that is, for our client, to kind of make sure we're hitting transferring it to the right queue or transferring it to the right skill.
Yeah, and our bot is designed to, they can call in our IVR tree, and they'll choose customer service, and then Replicant will identify that they actually wanted roadside service, and so we get that transfer to the right queue, so it's prioritized correctly. So in that sense, on our end, we work with Replicant to make sure that the calls are transferred and skilled appropriately.
Yeah, on our side, the skill is actually passed over from Replicant to us. We have different product lines, but within that product line, we actually have, through the pop-up panel, we actually have an authentication process. So if they authenticate through the thinking machine, it lets them know that, and it's skilled differently than if they're not authenticated for the same product line. So we have different skills for that. That way, when the rep receives that pop-up panel, they automatically know when they see it, it's very obvious, and it lets them know this person's passed authentication, greet them by name, and get started with the conversation versus, okay, I need to start and make sure you authenticate because they didn't authenticate through the thing machine.
Yeah, we have special queues for all of our lines of business as well. So our roadside is different from our at home. So if member calls in and goes to the IVR and hits home, then it goes to the replicant home queue, and then that gets bumped to the replicant or to an agent at home. So it's all one giant snake of a queue, I guess.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was really insightful. Let's give them a round of applause.